You're listening to the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. We've got some questions here for you, Gabe. The direct hit has said, hi, Gabe. Can this South Africa attack be lethal like it was with Stain, Morkel, and Philander? It's a pretty good attack with Norkia, Janssen, Rabada.
Rabada. Ooh, Rabada. Kagiso Rabada. Now, you know what's funny? Kagiso Rabada, Nick and I first not discovered it. We didn't discover it. Actually, we did. We're his agents. But Nick and I first started watching him in the IPL, right? And dude, this guy was throwing gas. He was just nasty. And I dare to say he is a better test bowler than he is a T20 bowler. You know what I mean? And Rabada won the purple cap in the IPL because he's a scout taker, man. This guy is absolutely nasty. But I think Test gives him the opportunity to take advantage of what I think is one of his strengths, and it's how durable the guy is, how big he is. He's not gonna get worn out, man. He's not gonna get worn out. I remember, and you can see it with a lot of guys, right? Jofra Archer. One of the reasons why people knew Archer was not going to be a test bowler is because give him the first, 10, 15 overs, he's going to be throwing darts, lights out. He can't give you 20 overs in it. He just can't. You know what I mean? He starts wearing down. He gets pumped for runs later on. You know what I mean? He just doesn't have that stamina. You know what I mean? You can tell his build is a lot slighter. Rabada, he's thick. He's muscular. He's, you know what I mean? He's built to go the deep into those deep overs and give you 30, 40 overs over that test match. And he's impressive. He's an impressive boy, man. And I like Rabada, Marco Jansen. Marco Jansen is funny because we also watched him first in the IPL T20 and we knew him from there. And I was like, this guy sucks. But there's a difference again between T20 and the limited formats and tests. Case in point, Stuart Broad got pumped for 6 6s, against Yuvraj Singh in the IPL. I mean, Stuart Broad is a legend. Stuart Broad is gonna, go down in. Isn't he the second leading wicket taker of all time for England? I'm pretty sure it's Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad. So it's a different animal. I'm impressed. And the last thing I got to say about that, and I'm gonna ask your question. I'm gonna ask you. People were excited about baseball, right? And listen, it looked good for a minute. They beat who they beat? They beat New Zealand. They
New
beat
Zealand, India, and that one-off
India.
test.
In that one-off test match, they beat India. I mean, they was looking good until South Africa. Woo! They got cooked. They didn't even need a second inning. And again, everybody's gonna say, well, 326. Look at the score. That's not a big score. I saw a test match. I'll never forget. It was South Africa versus it wasn't New Zealand. It was South Africa versus Sri Lanka, maybe. I can't remember who it was. But anyways, first innings, right? They put up 400 runs. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're gonna get smacked. South Africa comes back, puts up 600, 1,000 runs in the first, innings of this test match. You're like, holy crap! So really, 300 is not a lot. 300 is not a lot. So to me, while people are going to talk about the score and South Africa's scoring, I'm going to talk about South Africa's bowling. Holy cow! Rabada with a 5-wicket haul. We talked about it. Even Luengen Gidi, who loves getting pumped, was out there and was decent. He even had a maiden over, no wickets, but he didn't get pumped. Economy rate. Marco Jansen with 2 wickets. Norkia. I mean, the bowling was absolutely vicious. And if you're England, you're thinking, hey, 328's not bad. I mean, it's not like we went out and gave up 400 or 500 runs. But to get bowled out both times for under 200, what was it? First time it was 165. The second time it was 149. Bowled out each time. Come on, that just can't happen. That just can't happen. And I think that it speaks a lot for the bowling of South Africa. And once again, it talks about some of the glaring issues in with England, and that's the batting. And that's the batting. And that even goes back to the Ashes. Wasn't it Jimmy Anderson who called out, was it?
It was Stuart Broad, I think.
Stuart Broad at the time.
Yeah.
Stuart Broad called out Joe Root at the time when they were, getting smacked at the Ashes. And he was like, the bowling's not the problem. We're doing our job. Guys getting cooked.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like, we're doing our part. The bowlers doing their part to hold South Africa to 328, whatever. That's not. But you can't go out there in both innings get bowled out for under 200. That's just that's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is. I think they've already crossed the line. I think with Bazball now. Ben Stokes talked about we haven't really touched the line yet. I think they did. Now South Africa bowled well. The ball swung a bit. It seemed a bit. They're a lot quicker than the England bowlers. And England, when you get bowled out for, 100 or so in the first innings, you're behind already. And South Africa had a big first innings lead of 161 or something like that. So you're always behind. And that's why they lost by an innings and 12 runs, England, because you can't come back from that. And South Africa always had the ascendancy. So I think Brendan McCullum said it's not time for panic yet, he said after the game. He said, we don't need to overreact. But Dean Elgar had some fighting words before the series. He said, this Bazball thing is ridiculous or whatever. Yeah. And then Ben Stokes said, you mind your own business. And there are some few words exchanged between the two captains before the series.
I love it.
But it is. The question is it going to be sustainable? That is. Can you keep doing it outside of England, like in the subcontinent on a turning track? Probably not. Yeah. You have to balance it with game awareness and bat responsibly. Right. The ball's doing a bit, so balance it with defense, then attack, and then put them under pressure. England just, Ben Stokes, he's ever since they adopted this method, he hasn't really been batting well. He's just gone out there just batting recklessly. He's much better than that, So he'll need to have a look.
While it benefits some players, because I would say there's some players that they've got it. That's case in point, Rishabh Pant, right, from India. The guy cannot play conservatively. That's just not what he does. He gets himself out when he tries to play conservatively. Let him go out there and take his crazy shots and reverse sweeps and helicopter shots. He's going to do what he can do, okay? And even a guy like Johnny Bairstow, I think he thrives more under a more relaxed atmosphere. He's not worrying about defending. He's looking to play his shots. But other than that, for the most part, you've got to defend. You've got to play conservatively, take your shots when they're there, and test specifically. And you can't just have guys throwing away their wickets willy-nilly. You know what I mean? And that's just, you're right. I don't think it's sustainable. I mean, there should be a countdown clock or a prediction clock. How long until McCullum gets the axe? You know what I mean? I doubt that it's going to happen. I mean, it's come on.
He's there for 4 years, so he's not getting any time.
How long was Silverwood there for? If I'm not mistaken, he still had some time left on that contract before they axed him. So
probably, I think he was around in 2019, and he got sacked after the Ashes. So
just say it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it will be a matter of time before they can, keep it up. But the honeymoon period doesn't last forever whenever there's a new coach, isn't there, Gabe? Whenever teams have a new coach, they have that honeymoon period and they think, oh, everything's good. We're winning. The English media were up and about. They're saying, oh, we're back again. And then all of a sudden back down to earth. It didn't last long.
Think about JL, man. You know what I mean? Like, I was shocked, JL, and I've never been the biggest fan of JL. You know that, okay? And this goes back to me being a fan of the series, the excellent docu-series, The Test, on Amazon Prime. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it. It's amazing. And they bring in JL, and JL, to me, is one of those old school coaches that, honestly, I couldn't play for, right? His hard nose, his nose on, just the way he is. But he took Australia from some of the darkest times to respectability, to winning a T20 World Cup, to, you know what I mean? Like, and then he went back. Yeah, and an Ashes series where you whitewash. Come on, let's be honest. There was that unbelievable stand by England and Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad at the end, but it was a whitewash, right? It
Yeah.
was 4-0 with one tie in there. It could have been 5-0 easily. So, and then he gets sacked after that. I'm like, what's, you know what I mean? So, you just don't know. You just don't know. So, yes, I'm sure Baz has, let's be honest. McCullum's probably got 2 years to try to put his imprint on this team, but 2 years goes by rather quickly.
Mm.
And if you see more ugly losses like this, and this is, by the way, what people were predicting. They said, listen, basketball is going to lead to a lot of ugly one-inning losses where England's going out and beaten by an innings and 20, 30 runs because you cannot play that aggressive, mentality. And, somebody, I remember I was watching, I logged in, and somebody was talking about this is normally where you're down and you're chasing, like you said, 160, right? Ugly already. You're not just thinking about, oh, let's go out. You might be thinking about the draw. You might be thinking about let's play slowly to try to avoid the follow on, to try to get to,
Yeah.
And there was none of that. There was absolutely none of that. And you with this, you're not going to see too many draws for sure. You're not going to see too many draws, and I think that's where it's going to hurt England the most because that'll hurt in the point standings.
Yeah. We got a
loss.
question here from the Sports Breakdown. Hi, Powen. Hope you're well. I've been on the Sports Breakdown many times before, so go check out Powen. He does tremendous work there. On Sri Lankan cricket, but also cricket in general. He says, hi, Jack and Gabe. Hope you're doing good. We're doing well, Powen. Hope you're well. Can Jimmy Anderson get at least 750 wickets before he retires with the way he's going? I'll open it up to you, Gabe, before I respond to that. He's 40 years old. He's just turned 40.
Jimmy Anderson's the GOAT, man. Jimmy Anderson's the GOAT. And I think the thing about Jimmy is that he keeps himself fit, first and foremost. And because he relies more on the swing and the seam of the ball as opposed to just, sheer pace, he can still take wickets effectively. He's a smart bowler. Even though I don't like the rest policy, the fact that England does rest him will also help, extend this tail end of his career. 750 wickets, a lot of wickets, man. It's a lot of wickets. He's what, at 7? Last time I checked, he's like
30.
15?
He's at 640, I think, wickets. Or
No,
nearly
no.
6. No, I think he's past 650, I think.
Is it? I got it. Oh, yeah. Because they had 1,100 combined. So so Jimmy had 600, Broad had 500 going into last year. So he's at like 650. That's what, close to another 100 wickets. He'd have to play at least
He played nearly 173 tests, nearly 180 tests.
He'd have to play at least another 2 years. Could he do it? Yeah. I mean, there's athletes that have played well into their 40s. Right now, we've got them. Tom Brady, bro, is about to start at 45 years old in the NFL. That's unheard of. There's only been I don't think I think he's the oldest quarterback to ever start. I know he's the oldest quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl because he won it 2 years ago at like 42 or 43.
Yeah.
But 45 years old? Are you kidding me, man? That's insane. But to answer your question, I hope he does it. It'd be great for the books. It'd be good for the history books.
From an Australian point of view, I hope he doesn't because, Shane Warne's obviously record 708. What a great cricketer he was, Warney. But if he does do it, then he deserves it because, he's 20's the new 40, isn't it? Right?
That's what they say. I mean, Warren number 2 all time? I think he is number 2 all time, right?
It's Murali with 800 and then Warney with 708.
Yeah, Morali's got 800 wickets. Holy cow. Morali's got 800.
And he had to deal with that. I know that you and Nick reacted to the
video. Yeah, he could have more.
Yeah.
Right. But
I had to deal with that with his career as well. But he can do it, Jimmy Anderson. I think he can. He said age is just a number. That's what he said in the interview that I watched him do. He said it's just a number. I'm still enjoying it. The environment in the dressing room's calm, relaxing with Stokes and McCullum as captain. Me and Stuart Broad can, He'll probably say no one will probably do it outside of me. Will go on and
Right.
play until they're 40. Maybe Stuart Broad, he said. But I think
Right.
after that, probably not because of the changing landscape of cricket. So,
I mean, here's the thing, too. Athletes are expected to play a lot more. We've got more cricket right now than ever. And the thing that helps Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad is that they stick primarily to tests, right? They're not playing on all these domestic leagues. They're not playing T20. They're not. Most of the big bowlers these days that are out there, take your pick. We talked about Rabada earlier. We talked about Marco Jansen. We talked about Norkia. All those guys play in the IPL. All those guys play T20 cricket in other domestic leagues. That's a lot of bullets out of their arm, so to speak. You know what I mean? And you've only have so many before stuff starts breaking down, the shoulder, the elbow. So I think that, yeah, you're not going to see a lot of these young guys go up into their 40s because they play too much cricket. And there's too many formats for them to play. Now we got the 100. I just saw that. I think the 100 draft is either coming up pretty soon here. Somebody hit me on Twitter about it. But yeah, I don't. Me personally, you're right. I think Jimmy Anderson is the last person, and I know you say 42 like it's nothing. Jack, you're still young. All right, you got, as Nick and I like to say, you're a young pup. You got Similac on your breath. You know what Similac is?
is it like baby formula or something?
Baby formula. Yeah, you got Similac on your breath. All right, you're a young pup in your 20s, bro. I go to the gym. I'm 42. I go to the gym, bust it out, and the next day, the wife will be like, "Hey, man, don't touch me. Don't touch, you know what I mean? I'm hurt. My shoulders hurt, my back hurt, or whatever." I'm serious. Like, I am in awe when I see these guys out there. And again, it's tests. Sometimes they're out there for 5, 6 hours. God forbid, they're playing in England. There's going to be a rain delay. I mean, it could be a long day, and those guys are out there like.
And they're
I tip
bowling
my
20
hat
plus
off.
overs too. And if the pitch is flat, it's even
Oh,
tough work because it's
oh
not
my
doing
god.
anything.
Oh my
But I
god.
think what's helped Jimmy is that he's only played one format. He used to
Right.
play ODIs and T20s, but he gave that up after
Right.
2015 World Cup, Stuart Broad, where
Right.
England performed badly. And I think that's benefited both of them, really.
Right.
We're just going to play Test cricket. And then they've done that. Another question
It
from
works.
the Sports Breakout here. Oh, he says, Rabada and Norkia has done a tremendous job in this Test match. The pace attack of South Africa right now is very underrated and matches the likes of Verlander and Walker 10 years ago. Yes, we did talk about that earlier. And he even said, even Dale Steyn as well. Yes, it is a good attack. They're taking a lot of wickets, and they did a demolition job on England, that's for sure, in this first test. He also says, Sports Breakdown, what do you think about the baseball, Gabe, and do you think this trend can go for many years? I have seen a huge improvement in their batting, but not sure about their bowling apart from Anderson and Broad. We already touched on that a bit earlier about baseball.
Right.
We think it's not sustainable. It's going to end some way, and it probably has in this Test match. But Gabe, obviously, how do you see England under Stokes and McCullum? Have you noticed a change from the Root and Silverwood leadership of the Ashes, which was absolutely terrible?
They're more aggressive, and you want to have an aggressive mentality for sure. That's basketball, right? Go out there and, however, you have to play intelligently. I think that the one thing I do see that under Stokes, there's a lot more cohesiveness because you can even see sometimes Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Brock specifically. The guy, he's a book, okay? You could read his emotions on his sleeve, and a guy will drop a catch and he's just flailing his arms, and he'll give you the big eyes. He doesn't care, all right? He wears his emotion on his sleeve, and you don't really see that. They were getting their brains beaten. They got hammered, but you didn't see like the team falling apart. You didn't see the bickering. You don't hear like we heard, and I'm like, why is this getting out? There's bickering in the locker room. There's dissension in the ranks. Stuart Broad and Joe Root getting into it. You're not hearing any of that right now. So, if for any, at the very least, I think that Stokes has managed to be a better captain from that perspective. You know what I mean? The team seems more cohesive, and McCullum maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm misreading it, but I think he's garnering a little bit more respect because when stuff starts getting out, that means the coach has lost the locker room, right? Where guys are going to be, talking to the media, and that stuff should never get out ever. And the fact that it did under the prior Silverwood and Root regime, I should say, just tells you that maybe the guys are more comfortable. To your point, you just said that Stuart Broad talked about, not Stuart Broad, Jimmy Anderson talking about how much of a relaxing atmosphere it was, So I think that's what I noticed the most, that they look like they're having a lot more fun. And I mean, again, yeah, when you can only have so much fun when you get your brains beaten in. But I think that if this same result had happened under Joe Root and under Silverwood, it would have been a five alarm fire. All right. There all kind of talk would have been coming out about how irresponsible people played and how the captaincy was poor and how they put the bowlers in a bad position. All kinds of stuff would have been coming out. Here is just, don't panic. You know what I mean? I haven't heard anything. There's no panic. The media is talking about it, obviously. Fans like you and I are talking about it. How long is basketball going to? Right now, they're just like, no, this is our approach. This is what we're going to do. It is what it is. So, I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hope you enjoyed our cricket discussion with Gabe from Cricket for Americans on all things Test cricket. Let us know in the comments your thoughts about Test cricket from part 2. We would love to hear what you have to say.